Hi there, how the heck's it going? It's Nick Dutch back on the camera again. Yes, great to see you guys. You know what, my parents came back from one of their long boating trips away for, they go away for a couple of months and they come back. And whilst they were away, they saw this book which they were thinking of buying for me, and I'm rather glad they didn't buy it for me, okay? Because it was a Wiccan witchcraft book. And it was all about spellcasting. And it was all put in a very sort of like fluffy, kind of like a recipe book way, put like dead spider A into cauldron B, and then stir it with a wooden spoon, and then hope that something really nice is going to happen, or something like that. Okay, I'm exaggerating, I'm adding a few words in just for effect, but you get the message. It was written almost as if it was just like a cookbook. And I had this conversation with my parents. We were just sitting out in the garden, chilling, having a little meal and a cup of tea, and my parents were looking at me with this kind of like, we're watching you kind of like stare, and I thought, what's going on here? And they started talking about this book that they were thinking of buying for me, and how scary it was, and the fact that it was written in a very mundane style. And I thought, what the heck? And then I realized that they didn't think it was all that mundane, which of course it isn't, but they objected to it very strongly. So from my point of view, when I was looking at this argument happening, alright, it looks like they were accusing me of somehow being a part of something that I'm not. And there was me looking at them, thinking all I'm seeing here is two different forms of conservatism. I'm seeing atheistic conservatism coming from my parents, which is of course pretty bloody hilarious, considering that my father is in fact a Christian who believes in the resurrection of the body after death. And then there's my mother, who's a lapsed God knows what, and is now an extreme sort of Dawkins-esque atheist, alright? But they're both coming out with this atheistic conservatism. And on the other hand, there's this book they were talking about, which is coming out with sort of like Wiccan, pagan, spellcasting orientated conservatism as well. And then there was me, and I'm not really a part of either of them, and I'm just like sitting back sort of thinking this is like really hilarious. And the reason I thought it was really hilarious is because both of these groups are not really trying to find out more about how the world works. They are both conservative points of view. They're both sitting down and saying like, we are right, we feel we're right, we think it's wrong if you think something that's different to us. Do as you're told and think what we tell you. I just personally think that that's completely wrong, because my stance is, there's lots of things we don't know in the world. Strange shit happens, okay, so let's just try and find out more, rather than just to jump to the conclusion that if we put spider A into cauldron B and stir it, then hey presto, it'll work, and everything will be fine and wonderful and or rather the other extreme of, well, all those people putting spiders in cauldrons and stirring it with a wooden spoon, they're totally fucking crazy as well. So we've got to hate them, and anyone who's even vaguely strange or vaguely different, they must be people who are putting spiders in cauldrons and stirring it with a wooden spoon, and that must be the way it is. Ha, gotcha. I think we can basically see that in this case, both camps have got basically a few big issues, okay? And I admit I'm buzzing on a bit too much caffeine and nicotine today, so I've obviously got my own issues, but on the other hand, I'm not here to discuss my caffeine and nicotine addiction, I'm here to discuss strange people's strange ideas, okay? I mean, should we really be thinking about what is true in the world? What is one of the meanings of the word science, okay? It's the search for the truth. It's not, we have the truth now, right? But there are people who think that they do have complete and utter truth, and there are people who think that their way of thinking is the only way of thinking, or the right way of thinking, and then they spend all their time just trying to ram it down somebody else's throats. And these can be religious people, atheistic people, it doesn't fucking matter. They're all completely crazy. And they're all completely crazy because they're not showing any humility to be able to say, I don't know. Okay, what I try and do is, and there's one guy who's been emailing me recently, and so I want to make sure that he understands, okay, roughly where I'm coming from. What I try and do is say, I don't know. So I'm going to try and experience, okay, I can tell you what the experience is, to a certain degree, within certain limits. I can say what it seems to suggest, and those might be true, they might not be true. Basically, I don't know, so all I can do is just relay the experience to you, and then you can do basically whatever you want with that. And then at least if I'm putting it out here on YouTube, then maybe in 50 years time, or 100 years time, or 3 millennia into the future, when someone can dig using that really, really complex software deep into the brain of Google, they can like, pull out my videos and think, yeah, maybe there was something that, like 1% of what this guy said actually had some like really important validity. But on the other hand, maybe it won't. And do we actually know either way? Bottom line, no, we don't. And for some people, that's really rather frightening. For me, it's not frightening. Okay, it's not frightening at all for me. Okay, because there's so many things we don't know. It's good that we can admit that we don't know them. But when we've got one lot of people who definitely don't know stuff, who are saying that they know stuff, and there's another load of people who know that there are things that they don't know, but they're saying that anyone else and everyone else is a complete and utter load of wallace, then basically, no. We're not going to ever find a middle ground. We're not going to try and come closer to working out what's true. All we're going to do is move further away from it. And the only thing that will become really, really important, and this is what seems to be happening on YouTube full stop anyway, is people arguing. Alright? It's not a question of who wins. It's a question of let's have an argument. And it's fun to have an argument, and the argument can bring lots of people in, and then all we'll end up doing is getting really, really pissed off, and then joining different political camps, and then there won't be any real objective opportunity to try and find out what's true. We'll just be creating divisions in society, and like divisions in various different groups, and won't that be really, really bloody useless, really?